Hi everyone, my name is Maya and I will be talking about today about should social media be limited. And social media is one of the most popular things in our society over the use of video games. It has changed our world in both positive and negative ways, especially how it affects our children as young as 10, 11, or 12. So, I'm going to have a brief talk about the positives and the negatives to social media. So, my positives here, social media can be used as an essential component to businesses such as like when they're advertising and all sorts of other things. Not just going on and, social media is not really just for going on and just chatting with people or posting a picture of something or yourself or whatever the case may be you think that social media is mostly used for. No, social media is mostly used for businesses and for when they're advertising. So it's a positive thing. They're trying to advertise their business and stuff. And it's also being used for doctor visits through Skype. And, to be honest, I didn't really know about that until I researched that. And most people nowadays just do doctor visits through Skype now, or any other video chatting app or whatever. And it also helps with you to be more alert with news, such as like the weather. In most cases, a lot of people would rely on social media for the weather or for any natural disasters that's happening. So like I said, it's not just for just socially talking with other people or doing what you usually do with social media, which is like post a picture of yourself or post about things. It's also used for things like business, alert about weather, as I've said, and through doctor visits through Skype. It can also actually be social media can be used to post events that if you're wanting to invite someone to, like, say you're having like a graduation party or you're having some type of get together. And Facebook is usually the easiest way to be able to invite your people that you want to come. So, on to the negatives. So, there are honestly a little bit more negatives to this than positives, or maybe there's just the same amount. So, for the negative sides on social media is that social media usually doesn't always send out true information. It usually sends out some false information, or it seems like they just kind of sugarcoat things on some places, like their bias. And speaking of bias, yes, there are some social media platforms that are kind of biased, and such as like Fox News has their own social media app, and CNN. You can literally go on the App Store and find Fox News or CNN or news platforms like that. They have their own mobile app. So social media is actually also very time consuming, because people can spend up to maybe 3 hours or more at most on social media. And that's where it comes to where it affects the young people with depression, anxiety, no sleep, and emotional disturbance. So, why you may think that it happens? Well, yes, social media affects the brain of a teenager or preteen more easily than the average adult. Well, why? Well, because the use of social media is becoming a big part of their lives. Like, they rely on the attention of what social media gives them. So, for example, if a preteen or a teenager goes on social media as young as, like I said, 10, 11, or 12, it's because, I think one of the reasons is because of the parents. Where do you think these kids get cell phones or tablets or a laptop? The parents give it to them. It's not like a 10-year-old would have enough money to go buy their own. It's not like they would go up and do it like on their own just because. The parents actually kind of influence them, as I see, just to go on a laptop so that they would just slap a screen on their face, basically, to just leave the parents alone and not have to parent as much. And that's what I call laziness of a parent. That's kind of what I think is the fault of a parent. I don't see who else is to blame. The people, I don't think really, who else is to blame here? The people that post post all these things that are really meant for older people, and they happen to see that. It's not the person's fault the person's fault who posts things like that. They're just trying to entertain people. But it has happened on some cases where the creators of their content are the ones to blame because their kids can't seem to be parented by their parents by what they watch and how long they're supposed to be on there. And that's actually the truth. And honestly, that has happened on some occasions where, like, the YouTuber or a video gamer would basically get blamed for their content that they're sending out, but it's really not their fault. So according to the 2018 internet survey, about 95% of teens have access to a smartphone, and only 45% of them actually admitted that they're online almost constantly. Like, that it's a constant thing. It's like, it's part of their schedule. Like, I usually gotta be on social media at least every day for hours. And so the reason for that, for like all that, actually the reason for naming those off, because it's just true, I think, in my opinion. So let me tell you about the dangers of social media and how much impact it's really having over your children. So, dangers of social media: sharing too much information. What I mean by that is that, when you sign up to go on Facebook, and when you sign up to just to be on an app or whatever, and it says, and it may not have an age limit, or it probably does, because some apps really don't have an age limit on things. But if there's a 10-year-old possibly trying to go on a social media platform and they share enough of their information, like, it'll ask you for like your name, your address, your phone number, your emails, like, that's a little too much, I think, to be sharing, especially on a social media platform. And once that stuff goes online, it's on there. It's just on there forever. Like, it doesn't matter if you delete everything off of there. It's somewhere in that cloud of like data and stuff like that. It's still up there. Like, you cannot get rid of any of that. No matter how hard you try, deleting it's really not going to help. It's still going to be up there. Someone else in the world's going to still find it. So that can lead to online predators. Now, online predators such as like online bullies or online pedophiles. And with pedophiles, it's the most dangerous, because what if your child is talking to someone on the internet and they're talking to someone that has a profile as they're probably also a 10 or 11-year-old girl? But what if they're not actually? What if that other profile that your child's talking to is probably not actually a 10 or 11-year-old girl? It's probably a 40, 50-year-old pedophile. Cases like that has happened. And it's even more dangerous if you don't look at that site and see what they're talking about, and making sure that your daughter doesn't, or child does not agree to even meet the person. Unless if your parent was with you. So most of those children that are on the internet chat rooms and things like that, they would mostly be approached by pedophiles. Now that's just scary to me. I mean, it's just crazy how that works. It's insane. It's sick. It's just like, why are you not monitoring your child more? And also with the online bullying thing, and that's where depression, anxiety, and all those things come with the effects with teens. I mean, a teen is, at that age, you're always going to be worried about thinking about what other people think of you, and worrying about and if you see like just one negative comment about a post you made, that's something positive probably. I mean, that just brings down your child's self-esteem, because they're just so wrapped up and focused on this one particular person that has to be so negative about possibly a positive message that they're trying to send out. And also, another danger on social media is not having enough boundaries. Having boundaries is the first step in being able to protect your child from going any further, is having boundaries. For example, having good parenting skills. Now, I'm not saying all parents are bad. I mean, no parent is perfect. But there's a certain boundary that I think should be put down, is not necessarily controlling what your child watches and stuff like that, but putting boundaries down, like, well, you shouldn't be watching this until you're old enough, however old they pick. Of course, that stuff's not appropriate to a 10-year-old or an 11 or 12-year-old. So, in conclusion of all that, yes, the whole world is changing. Our society is relying mostly on technology, internet, social media platforms, anything. And you could possibly save a child's life by putting down those boundaries. And the important thing is, talk to them. Find out what's going on in their head. And listen to them, understand them. And yes, most importantly, listen to what they tell you, what's going on in their head, because I really urge you to really think about that, because talking to them and being involved with them, trying to be involved with them, is the number one step, and hopefully trying to save their life.